Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a 2019 version of a watch that launched in 2017. This is the Girard-Perregaux Neo Bridges Earth to Sky. So this was part of a 2019 series of GP watches from the Earth to Sky series, which combined the imagery of black and blue coloration, so Earth and Sky. That's exactly what we have right here. The watch in titanium is 45 millimeters in diameter, but only 12.4 millimeters thick, from lug tip to lug tip, 52.2 millimeters across the wrist with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Throw it on the wrist. It wears very light because it's all sapphire and titanium. It is super light. It's also quite thin at just 12.4 millimeters thick. It's about as thick as a Rolex Daytona. It'll slide right underneath the cuff, no issues there. It is broad though. You can see at 52.2 millimeters, it's right out to the edge of my wrist. So while it sits comfortably on a smaller wrist, I think proportionally to avoid lug overlap, your wrist should be my size or larger, so 16 centimeters circumference and up. The watch features a robust strap of large rectangular scale alligator leather, black with a folded edge, a monotone stitch, a matte finish. You can see that the lugs are drilled as close to the case as possible to create a more integrated look, but also to narrow the pivot centers of the strap. The pivot centers are somewhat inboard of the end of the lugs, which improves ergonomics, but in order to prevent the strap from being impeded in its motion, it's necessary to use that curved spring bar. That also helps to close the gap to the case, so aesthetically and ergonomically it works great. We have here a buckle, which is also DLC titanium. It's a double fold. You can see the use of ceramic spring-loaded pin snaps to maintain the tolerance over time as the titanium can't aggress against the ceramic. It is a twin trigger release. You can see that one half of the chassis, one swing arm, acts as the springs for the twin trigger release, so it's going to stay put and secure on your wrist. Taking a quick look at the case, it has lugs dramatically broken out from the case band, a nice vintage look. The super sharp break between them is extremely handsome. Everything's satinated for a matte look, and it's coated in DLC. PVD is the method. Physical vapor deposition, DLC, diamond-like carbon, is the material. There are some cheap PVDs in the world. DLC is not one of them. I've found in practice it is very scratch resistant. Now, an unusual looking case, you can see the GP logo on the crown, but the case is actually flatted out adjacent to the sapphire, which is absolutely enormous. You could see a considerable amount of the dial height, including the indices of the hour track, and then the hands at center. They are all dependent on this enormous boxed, cambered, and vaulted sapphire. So this is as high as it is in order to provide clearance for those hands and indices. Taking a quick look, this dial is all matte black. There are a few polished accents, but you'll find them on the beveled edge of bridges and then in the beveled and polished sinks for the jewels. All screw heads are likewise polished. That said, the hour track, the base plate, the bridges, they are all media blasted on their top, which is an unusual finish. We're used to seeing stripes, we're used to seeing sometimes engine turning if it's a Zenith or similar, but it's unusual to find all bridges and plates media blasted. It's a nice matte subdued look. The bevel quality is very high, and as you can see, these are true rounded mirrored bevels, likely started by mechanical means, but also undoubtedly finished by manual means. Other things going on: satination on the hands at center, which are skeletonized so as not to block your entire view. We'll do a quick loom shot just to clarify that the watch is actually fairly well loomed. You can read it quite easily, at least hours and minutes in the dark. Now you can see that the bridge is dual anchored, so with a brace on each side, dual anchored by 2 screws. That's a very robust bridge architecture. We have 2 bridges. One is for the mainspring barrel. One is actually for a micro rotor automatic winding system that sits on the dial side. The watch winds itself automatically. It has a GP0 8400 movement, 48-hour power reserve, 3 hertz beat rate. It's got the full balance bridge. It all pivots on 27 jewels. And as you can see, it shows you all of the fun stuff on the dial side, including the motion works that allows you to set the time. Take a quick look here. You can see there's an intermediate wheel. There's actually, it looks like 2 intermediate wheels. Turning the minute wheel pinion turns the hour wheel, on which the hour hand is mounted. The minute wheel base interacts with the cannon pinion on which the minute hand is mounted. And you can see all of that quite nicely finished, including the steel components. The bridges for the motion works and the setting system are steel. They're beveled on their side and satinated on their top. And then you can see there's solarization on the caps of the barrel with its ratchet wheel in blue solarized. And then the center of the micro rotor itself. Turn it all over. You can see it's nicely decorated with blackened bridges, solarization on the underside. This, I believe this right here is actually the ratchet wheel. And you can see that these bridges on this side have also been micro-beveled, even though this is a side you will seldom see. A beautifully made watch, artisanally crafted by a wonderful and now, once again, independent manufacturer that traces its history back to 1791. Last year, Girard-Perregaux and Ulysse Nardin bought back from the Kering Group by the owners of the watch brands, and so you are going to see more and more from GP and UN in the independent sphere, really playing to their strengths as integrated manufacturers, but also without having to satisfy shareholders or meet quarterly schedules for margin and profit, so they can make more fun watches like this that play to the pure enthusiast and the watch nerd. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And of course, I'm going to mention before we go that this is a Neo Bridge. So if you are a fan of the legendary Girard-Perregaux tourbillon with 3 golden bridges, here we have the modern interpretation of that bridge form. Sometimes when you have a heritage dating back to 1791, you choose to reference it even on your most avant-garde watches. And one more thing, 30 meters water resistant, so don't do anything stupid like swim with it.